So, Lone Rider here, and this is possibly one of the coolest vintage bikes that I've gotten my hands on. So this is a Parkpre alumax, and for those who've never heard of it, Parkpre was a brand that was around in the 1990s. From what I understand, the brand was started by a guy who used to work for Diamondback, so it's kind of fitting because two of the vintage bikes that I always wanted to get my hands on, even before they were vintage, back when they were new, but obviously couldn't afford, were a DBR, Diamondback Racing, and a Parkpre. Now, their 925 steel frame model is much better known, but the Alumax was also one of the more popular bikes they made. And I'm very glad I got my hands on this, and I've put some miles on it already. I took it out. I did only about 14 miles yesterday, but a lot of that was off-road because it was nice and the dirt was dry. And it rides awesome. It rides the way you think it would ride. Climbs great, goes downhill over bumpy stuff great. It's just it's a wonderful frame, and this is in pretty good shape. I mean, there's some wear and tear, some scuffs, but the beautiful finish. I mean, it catches the sun. It's just it's a wonderful bike. There are some problems with this though. The cockpit setup is good. This is the style that I like the most: flat bars with bar ends. The problem is on a lot of used bikes, the steer tube's already been cut so short that you can't use flat bars. It'll hit the frame, or it'll be too low. But these, as you can see, there's clearance. There's no risk of damaging the frame. So great setup. I got my own seat on this. This is one of these Thai flights. This one is bare, no covering, but still pretty comfortable. And then lightweight aluminum bar ends. The problem really is the wheels and the drivetrain. As you can see, it has these cranks which are not period correct. This bike is from the mid-1990s. I believe it's a 95 because the one original part is the PFR seat post, the Parkpre Factory Racing seat post, which is a 2-bolt, and this is in 27.0, oddly enough. And from what I've been able to find online, the 94 had it was like a K alloy seat post or something. So, and it wasn't the 2-bolt design. So I'm pretty sure this is a 1995. Unfortunately, information about the brand is kind of sparse, but that's from what I've been able to find out. So that's the only. This looks like it's the only original part on the bike. The shifters and the brake levers are these generic modern ones. Same thing with the cranks. The wheels match, but they're obviously not period correct. And in fact, the back wheel has an old kludgy free wheel instead of a cassette. So what I'm probably going to want to do is change the wheels out. So I mean, the frame is great, and it rides great as is. It's a usable bike, but the problem is all the parts were completely replaced. My guess is the previous owner got it as a frame only, and so I got my work cut out for me. Really, all I really need to do is replace the cranks. I can't really do anything with the wheel set until I change the shifters as well, because the this is a 7-speed freewheel. You can't just put an 8-speed cassette on it. So and I have a pair of wheels that will take an 8-speed cassette, but if I put those on this bike, then the shifters won't work because they're index shifters and they're set for 7-speed. So what I'm gonna have to do is replace the shifters. In doing so, I'm gonna have to replace the brake levers because these brake levers are integral to the shifters. So I'm gonna have to. I have the V-brake levers somewhere lying around. I'm gonna have to put those on, take these off, and then put on regular shifters, and then go with a changing the wheels. The cranks I could change without changing the rest of that, and I think that'll be the first thing I do. I have a pair of, I don't know, they're like XT or Diore or something, mountain bike cranks from the mid 90s, which are really beat. You know, they have this anodized finish on them, and the finish is all worn off in some places, but they work good. So I could put those on, or I'll see what I can find. I know I have a like XT or Diore rear derailleur that's also contemporaneous. So in fact, somewhere I have like a whole XTR group or something in a box. I just don't know where I put it. I have too many parts and things lying around. So this has to get rebuilt, but I'm really glad I got it. And the truth is that, like I said, it is rideable as is, and it rides great. So, you know, I looked at it yesterday. It was a beautiful day. This morning it's raining, but it was a beautiful day, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to not ride it just because it's not period correct. It's usable as is. I put my own seat on it. I put the bar ends on, and I took it out for a spin, and it is just really, really cool. So sometimes if you wait long enough, you get some of the things you used to want and couldn't afford or couldn't find. And this is one illustration of that. This is a beautiful bike, and it's got many years of life left in it. And you know, it's funny. A lot of people think with these older mountain bikes, you can't ride that off road anymore. It's old fashioned. It's, you know, it doesn't have the, well, whatever the new one, you know, it doesn't have disc brakes, or it doesn't have 4 inches of travel or whatever. Well, yeah, nobody's going to be going over huge monster jumps with it. But, you know, all of us back in the day when we rode bikes like this. And people did some seriously cool stuff, and had seriously cool times. And, you know, if you were around when this was new, if you were a cyclist in the, in the early to mid 1990s, it was a wonderful time to be a cyclist. I mean, it was just really, really awesome. And I remember because I was there, right? I started riding in 95. So, you know, I'm just really glad to get my hands on this. And like many of my bikes, it's an older bike, but it does what it's supposed to do. And, you know, if you're one of those people who looks at older bikes and you're like, oh, you can't ride that off road, give it a try. You'll be surprised. All right, you'll be surprised. You might need a different riding style. You might need techniques that you've never bothered to learn. But you know, it worked back then, and it still does, right? So yeah, I'm really excited to have this, and I can't wait for things to dry out. Once this rain stops, I'll probably be taking this back out for a ride. So. There we go. But that's the Parkpre Alumax, and it is a really, really fun bike, and yeah, just really psyched to have this. Lone Rider out. More as I get this thing set up properly.